So this is breaking news. It's Thursday, December 4th, 2025. There were four unidentified military-style drones that flew along the flight path of President Zelensky's aircraft on Monday evening, violating a no-fly order as he traveled to Ireland. So I'll show you what the flight route was and where that was in just a moment. I'm not going to say that they were flying at the plane or trying to destroy it or anything. We just don't know, but they shouldn't have been there. It was way too close, and there was an order that they shouldn't be, that there was a no-fly zone. This is Chuck Farrer, former Navy SEAL, talking about Russia. Minutes after Zelensky's plane landed in Ireland, four unidentified drones breached the no-fly zone in Dublin. Described as military grade, they mimicked approach patterns and then circled an Irish warship deployed nearby. Similar incidents have occurred in Europe, and Ireland is treating it as a hybrid attack. This is Zelensky's plane, and yeah, I mean, it got really close, and I'll show you just how close it was. Again, they didn't hit the plane. There wasn't an attack, but it was a little bit too close for comfort, and it makes you maybe a little nervous. Shortly after a plane carrying President Volodymyr Zelensky landed in Dublin, Ireland on Monday, a group of four large unidentified military-style drones entered the no-fly zone. Sources are reporting that the drones would have been directly in the flight path, and it looks like it was slightly off of the flight path, and Zelensky's plane went past it before the drones actually got wherever they were going. If it had flight path, the plane carrying Zelensky, if it had not taken off and landed in Dublin ahead of schedule, with our officials in Ireland and Europe calling it an act of hybrid warfare, possible assassination attempt, I think that's a little bit too much, against the president of Ukraine. After circling over the airport for a short period of time, the drones flew east, orbiting over a warship of the Irish Navy that had been deployed to the Irish Sea ahead of the visit by Zelensky. So, okay. Those are all things that you find, like you'll find these on X or on other social media as quick breaking news kind of things happen. And you'll find breaking news on Telegram and Twitter and things like that. And then you have to make sure you find it in verifiable sources. So yeah, here it is in the Telegraph. Here it is in the Independent. And I'll go to the actual source, the Journal, which is an Irish paper, in just a moment. There they are trying to establish whether the drones took off from land or an undetected ship slipping past radars. Ireland security services said the drones were large military-type devices and that the incident could be deemed a hybrid attack, and that's according to the Journal. And I'll show you the actual article from the Journal in just a moment. Let's just pause for a second and think about this. What would happen if Zelensky was attacked? Like, just imagine that, by drones. I mean, drones have changed everything. This is not outside the possibility, a reasonable possibility that this kind of thing could happen, and it could have gone terribly, terribly wrong. The Irish Aviation Authority had implemented a no-fly zone for drones over and around Dublin to coincide with Zelensky's visit. It comes at a time of increased caution across Europe after months of warning about drone-led hybrid attacks disrupting travel and forcing airports shut. And that happened in multiple countries, and I've talked about that at least a half dozen, probably a dozen times in the last 2 months or 3 months. Zelensky visits this week. It's his first visit to Ireland by our Ukrainian president. Airports in Germany, Denmark, Belgium have all been closed over incursions in the last few months, and it's not just those countries either. I mean, there's been a lot of drone menacing, and it seems like it traces back to Putin. So we'll just see how that works. Now, here is a graphic of Zelensky's flight path here as the plane was coming in, and the drones were somewhere out here and perhaps able to have intercepted if they had been at the right time, but we're not exactly sure what was going on, or if the drones were just, I mean, why they're out over the sea here, I'm not exactly sure, but maybe there was some hobbyist out here, or maybe it was something nefarious. We just don't know. Okay, so the actual paper that presented this material was the Journal, and I don't know anything about the Journal. It's an Irish paper, so it could be a rag or it could be a legitimate paper, but it reads like it's a legitimate paper. So here's what they had to say. Sources have said that the drones took off from northeast of Dublin, possibly near Howth, and flew up for up to 2 hours. Inquiries are being carried out to determine whether the drones took off from land or from an undetected ship. We just don't know enough about this to know why it was there and what was the cause. If we understood why, then we'd be able to rule some things out. It's not yet known who launched and controlled the drones or where the drones are now. And again, there were military-style drones, and that's the tricky part of this. Ireland's security service have found that the drones in the Irish Sea were large, hugely expensive, of military specification, and that the incident could be classified as a hybrid attack. So just because of the types of drones that they were, it may lean more towards something nefarious rather than hobbyists. Hybrid warfare is the use of military and non-military tactics such as drone incursions, cyber attacks, sabotage, and disinformation to weaken or destabilize opponents without declaring a full-scale war. It's generally carried out by state-level military and intelligence services. Now remember, this is also happening in Ireland. It's kind of the last place in Europe that you'd be thinking that this kind of thing would be happening. It's on the far western end of Europe, or northwestern end, I suppose. It is understood that the drones missed the approach of the Ukrainian leader's plane and then turned their attention to Ellie William Butler Yeats, the Irish naval vessel, which was secretly deployed off Dublin. Now, if they missed the approach because of timing and they were trying to get there, that could be something more nefarious. Or maybe it's just a fluke of time. We just don't know yet, so we can't jump to conclusions. The drones operated within the 12 nautical mile limit of the Irish-controlled waters. The decision was made not to shoot down the drones, and there was no ability on board the naval vessel to disable them. Look, I mean, as much as we've been paying attention to what's going on in Ukraine, much of Europe, much of the world is still asleep to what drones are capable of doing. And spiderweb should have woken the whole world up to the possibilities. But even the naval vessel that was out there at sea wasn't thinking that this could have been something that an enemy could do for nefarious reasons. And yeah, it's understood that the Irish Air Corps aircraft was also patrolling at the time, but did not get involved. Okay, just a little bit more. The drones are believed to have been quadcopters as they were able to hover above the naval vessel. This type of drone has 4 propellers or rotors, which allow it to stay in one position. They're reasonably stable types of drones. Okay, so that's what we know from the journal. I don't know what to tell you about whether this was some kind of attack or if it was just a fluke and nothing to worry about, but that's where we are. Now, I saw this map. It was Terrible Maps is a kind of a funny site on X. And I saw this. Russia has released its latest peace plan, and everything in Eastern Europe, all the way up to Italy and Denmark and Norway are considered Russia, including Spain. And the only thing left is the demilitarized zone, which is Germany and Belgium and the Netherlands and Great Britain. But it's just weird to see that. And the highlighted thing was yellow. I didn't highlight it. It was Ireland. And that's where it was. Okay, so tell me what you thought about what you saw here. Put that in the comments below. I'm just trying to bring you information so that you can understand what's happening in Ukraine. So, not just Ukraine, but to Ukraine or in this horrible, no good, terrible war. Thank you for your time, the likes, the shares, and the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person who cares about Ukraine.